Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
What's up, world, and welcome back to another Codename Morpheus, episode 24. And this is your weekly dip into the world of the virtual in terms of PSVR, which used to be Project Morpheus, hence the name of the podcast. My name is Tom. I'm joined today by Keegan, as per usual.
It'd be weird if I wasn't here. Well,
right?
There's been an episode, I think.
There's been like one
episode.
I did by myself,
Yeah.
which was super weird.
Yes.
So how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm excited. I said in our podcast yesterday that it has warmed up finally in the city of St. Louis.
Thank God.
It's not 16 or 6 degrees. It's now 36 degrees. It's supposed to be like
Feels
50s later this week, so I'm excited. I'm also excited because we will have a podcast next week, but the week after we will not. We will be going to Wizard World St. Louis, which is Wizard World Comic-Con, St. Louis Comic-Con, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And hopefully we'll be interviewing some stuff. So 2 weeks from now, there won't be a normal podcast, but there will still be a lot of content of us going around the Wizard World and hanging out with people.
If you only tune in for the podcasts and occasionally reviews and things like that, you may not know that we're big con guys. We love going to cons and getting like interviews and demo of indie game stuff and interviews with artists and just vlog stuff,
nerd stuff,
cosplay stuff. Yeah, so we nerd out, but we try and go to at least a couple of them a year if we can help it. And the first one this year is bright and early in February 2nd through 4th, which is Wizard World St. Louis.
I'm hoping, because I was scared it was going to be still freezing, but now the weather is kind of taking
I feel like
turns.
it might be
I'm
right,
hoping,
yeah.
knock on wood.
Hopefully.
The other thing, before we jump into the episode, on this Sunday, we will be streaming, and I'm going to announce it now officially, Rec Room VR. So join us at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/level2gamersstl. That's the number 2 in there.
Yeah.
And we will be streaming some Rec Room VR. It'll probably be me, you, Bertrand, and actually I think Bertrand might be on tour. It might be just me, you, and David this week. I know Bertrand has a few shows he's going to. He's in a band.
He is in a band.
So
it's always a good time, and if you didn't hear last week, we were talking about it. We're kind of going. 2018 is the year of Twitch for us for our live stuff. We're keeping our VODs on YouTube. We're uploading highlights to YouTube, and maybe in some instances, if it's really good, we'll upload a whole Twitch vid to YouTube. But for the most part, our live stuff, we're separating it over to the Twitch side of things, just to cover more bases. And Twitch is just generally friendlier to the
back
live
end of Twitch is way nicer.
Yeah.
I'm changing your words here because you typoed and it's driving me crazy.
Okay, fair enough.
But you want to tell them what we've got going on in the world of VR, because there's a big game this week. There's only one game, but it's a game people have been looking forward to.
Yeah, which makes this news all the more weird. So we have our new release for this week is the one that's been delayed.
Supermassive.
By Supermassive. It's super exciting. Everyone's been waiting for it, and that is, of course, the Inpatient.
Which is a sequel to...
Spiritual prequel to Until Dawn.
Yes.
The old school PlayStation exclusive.
Old school being in like 2 years ago.
I mean, it's old school for me. And
it's 2 weeks old.
Here's the not great news. Well, first of all, price $40.
Yes.
Bear that in mind when I tell you the rest of the news.
Yes.
It's got mixed reviews, and not good mixed reviews.
And neither of us have played it, so we can't speak firsthand to it yet. But all the things we've been reading from the various sources we have, it's not a bad game. It's just
kind of the big thing right now is that people are saying that the move implementation is terrible.
And then the story, I've also heard, kind of falls flat at the end. It's a short story.
Yeah, short story can complete the whole game in 2 to 4 hours, depending on whether you want to do the branching paths. The branching paths are allegedly not as branchy as you think they should be.
Which sucks, because Until Dawn was...
The one
real
word
good at
that I really love hearing this term, and I think it's a term that we should now associate with the VR community. I keep hearing the word noodle arms come out, which is because Inpatient does the one thing that most of us really like in VR, which is gives you arms, because instead of floaty hands, you actually get arms. But because they're implemented so poorly, you get noodle arms, so they're all noodly, which I think is
that's like Star Trek. Your arms go like this,
right?
And you might be dabbing every so often without trying to.
But I think for like Until Dawn, Rush of Blood and stuff like that, you're basically just, you know, holding out your gun, so it's a lot easier to track those arms. But for this game, you're a little bit more fluid with your movement, picking things up and that kind of stuff. So apparently the implementation of the fully fledged arms and the move controller in general is piss poor. Everyone says it works really well until you have to go somewhere, and then it just shows its true colors. And people are saying that it does suck. And people are saying, like, you know, why wasn't it like Skyrim, etc.? Like, I had a tough time with Skyrim, so if it's worse than that, I'm a little bit nervous about this now. I wish I'd have had a chance to play it before actually talking about it today. I'm sure I will pick it up and play it and regret it.
A lot of the things I've read, again, we've not played it, as you said, but a lot of the people I've been reading everywhere, it's like the price point for what you get is not worth it. I mean, $20 is what is kind of the consensus of the groups I'm in, and that, again, that's not, I can't speak to it, but every post I've read is like, if this was $20, you're good. You're gonna have jank, but it's worth it. For $40, you have a different level of expectation.
Here's the one part about it that I'm kind of using as a positive out of this whole thing, is that yes, the Inpatient was widely anticipated, and yes, it fell flat by all accounts at this time. Everything that's wrong with it can be fixed.
Yeah.
It's
not complete. It's not. I mean, the scores I've been seeing have been like 6 to 8, so it's not bad.
I've seen a couple 3s. But they're like shitty companies. But what I'm trying to point out here is that, like, a lot of the games that we were kind of like that were in this list of stuff that got delayed from the end of 2017 to the beginning of 2018, things like Moss, that kind of stuff, had demos, and we played those on the demo disc, and we know they're good. This one never had a demo. It never
outside of conventions.
Yeah, outside of like if you were like
E3,
IGN or whatever. So for a lot of folks, everyone was going in blind, and no one really knew what to expect.
Supermassive it was well received with Until Dawn. This is the first VR experience, right?
No, Supermassive did Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. They doing Bravo Team, which does make me nervous
about that. Yep,
and they have the Impatient
because Rush of Blood was. I wouldn't say it's fantastic. I'm not playing it.
It was really well done.
It looked
really well done.
Everybody enjoyed that game. So
it's kind of bittersweet. I don't want to shit on it because there is a lot of people that really like it and have come out and said they really, really love it. Other people are saying that the implementation of the controls is ruining the experience. Other people are saying the story's too short or there's not enough scares or whatever it might be.
As I say, I've heard it's got some spooky environments. The big review I read was kind of like it was good. From a story standpoint, was like Firewatch, where the build-up was good, and then it just kind of like it felt rushed at the end.
Gotcha.
And it's like, well,
that's a shame.
Yeah.
So the Inpatient finally out, finally in the wild. If you've played it, let us know what you personally thought about it in the comments. I
will never play this game because it's spooky.
That's true.
You probably will play it.
I will play it. I'm honestly, because I want to pick it up just for the channel because I want to be able to give an honest review of it. But I also really don't want to waste $40. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm torn on it, man. That's why we need you to support our Patreon so I can waste other people's money instead of my own. I'm broke.
My favorite was in one of the groups I was in was like, what's the best non-spooky VR game? And I was like, ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, that should.
Because I don't spooky.
Maybe I'll make that the quiz question next week. So kind of, mixed news to begin with at the start of the week. But, if you dig the Inpatient, if you have nice things to say about it or bad things to say about it, let us know because we're really interested to see or garner better opinions of it. That being said, let's move on to the sales. There are quite a few this week, and there's some good ones. And one of them is on sale for the first time that I've ever seen it on sale. At least I believe it is. And there's some really big ones too. So the sales this week, we're looking at Star Trek Bridge Crew, which is one of your faves.
Literally before we went live, I was reading the notes here, and I go, "Ooh, I need to text my friend to make sure he knows it's on sale because he's been wanting to pick it up, but didn't want to buy it full price because didn't know if he's like it."
Yeah, this is one of those I think that a lot of people wait for sales on to pick it up because it is a $50 game new, but it's now $20. You can pick up Star Trek Bridge Crew.
So this is one of those games that when it launched, it was good. They have since updated a few things and made it, in my opinion, great. This is probably. And I'm not a Star Trek fan, but this is one of my favorite experiences in VR because it's the one I get the most immersed in when it comes to being that role. So, like, if I'm the captain, the fact that they implemented voice commands is amazing. Obviously, when you're playing friends, you just yell at your friends and they hopefully do what you say. But like,
hopefully being the operative word.
Yes. But if you're playing with bots, if you don't have people or friends who have VR headsets, you can now say, helmsman, go full speed towards target, and they'll start moving. Full stop. Just stop. Put your shields up. Like it makes it so much easier than trying to navigate a menu like this. And if you do have moves, if you want to do non-voice commands, use the moves. I hated the game with the DualShock. Moves made it so much more immersive. Make sure if you're sitting somewhere that you can reach down beside you. Like if I play on my couch, I have an issue.
Sometimes you have to shimmy forward on the couch seat there. That's like Ultra Wings.
I now sit in a chair to make it easier so I can reach down. But yeah, I'm a huge proponent for this game, especially for $20.
And they recently did the non-VR version, added that as well. So even if you don't have VR, it's
your friends can play with you.
Yeah. So Star Trek Bridge Crew, 20 down from 50. Arizona Sunshine, back on sale, $24 down from 40. This game has allegedly gotten better and better with time. I'm actually debating playing this through properly at some point here soon, because I picked it up on like about a week after launch, and I heard all the kind of the bad news about it and when it first released, and shaky guns and things like that, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it simmer for a little bit, let some patches roll in before I touch it. And at this point, apparently it is super fun to play. So Arizona Sunshine may be worth picking up at the $24 price mark there, especially considering full price is $40. This is the one that I don't believe I've seen on sale before, but I would highly recommend, and that is The Invisible Hours is finally on sale.
I might actually pick this up now.
$18 down from $30.
Because that's the investigative game, right?
It is, yeah. So The Invisible Hours has you in the role of basically invisible cameraman as you are witnessing an Agatha Christie-style play out in front of you, and you get to go wherever you want to in the scene at any part of the building. You can follow certain people, you can go forward and back in time, and you're basically trying to unravel a murder mystery by simply observing the things that are going on around you. So really smart game. There's nothing else out there quite like it, so especially in VR. So yeah, if you're really into murder mystery at all, crime stuff, Agatha Christie stuff, if you went out to watch the Orient Express or the Murder on the Orient Express recently, and that's your ish, then definitely check it out. The Invisible Hours, $18 down from 30. Big one for you as well. Another one to join your ranks of games that you really enjoy. Werewolves Within, $9.89 down from 30.
I'm gonna give a warning here.
Disclaimer. Go ahead.
If you're gonna play this, turn on cross-platform, so you can play with people on PC. The community, while it's there still, if you play PS4 only, finding a game will take a long time.
And hopefully it'll be better now that it's cheaper.
Yeah,
more people will
and
pick
it's
it up.
not one of those things. It also depends on when you play. Like any multiple, like the community is, in my opinion, is large. But since it is an older game, people have moved on to other things.
Yeah.
But it's still there. But sometimes it'll take a little bit longer, especially if you don't have that turned on. Once they added cross-platform, for me right now, like
there's no single player, right?
No.
Okay.
Because it's
so this is not like Star Trek where you can still play it if
Yeah.
there's no one around.
So for me right now, like I hopped in probably about a week or two ago to play because it's been a while, and I would say maybe 7 to 10 minutes to find a full game, which sucked. But once you're in a game, people don't leave.
Right.
So once you're in, you're in. Yeah.
Right.
And
but yeah, hopefully at $10, that means we'll get more people that you can join a game.
And also, if you are a first-time Werewolves player, hit me up, Level 2 Gamers. Hit us up on Twitter, actually, or Discord, link down below. And I'll teach you, because there's a lot of people that, like me, I was intimidated because you can't be in a private chat, because obviously it's part of the game. People in the game are fairly nice. There's some assholes like any game, but they will teach you the roles, be kind to you as you go along. They might fuck you over the first few times just to give you a hard time. But it's really easy to pick up. Don't be scared to play this game just because you have to talk to other people online. As
you have mentioned before, there's a difference between online talk for VR games and regular games, and it seems like
if you played Rec Room, think of Rec Room online. Most people in there are fairly nice. There are some assholes in there.
We had that story last week where we talked about the guy that was having a really rough time, and the guys in Rec Room picked him up and played some games with him and made him feel better. And I think that speaks volumes for the community. But as always, there's always some. There's going to be a couple dicks.
Yeah,
that's just life.
So, but yeah, if you're scared about playing it, hit me up. I'll find a time. We'll teach you the ropes.
Thumper, $8 down from 20. I feel like that's perpetually on sale at this point, but if you haven't picked it up yet, pick it up, dude, because Thumper is not only is it a great flat game, it's really good in VR.
This is what
very
I don't
immersive.
own because I'm scared to play it in VR.
Why?
Just
it's not scary.
Just because
It's like a rush of adrenaline, though, you know? And it's a rhythm-based game. You like rhythm games.
I do.
Yeah,
I really want to pick up your one from last week, Happy Drummer VR. Like, I'm super... I finally watched your review and the gameplay of it, and, like... I was very excited when I saw it. It's a little shallow, like you said, or potentially.
Well, I'm going to talk about the other rhythm game this week, which is Audio Beats, and I think that you would actually like more.
Really? Because I watched the
the footage doesn't do it justice because the footage is not in VR.
Well, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, sure.
But
yeah, no, I totally. Happy Drummer is it's fun, and I had not an argument, but I had a discussion with a guy on Reddit about this, and he was saying I was saying basically for the price, it's good. But if it was more money, I don't think I'd be happy about it. And he was like really excited about it. I didn't mean to bum him out, but I think I bummed him out. And so don't get me wrong. Like Happy Drummer is still fun. It's just not necessarily what you think it is.
But you're also not a drummer. So that's the other thing. Like I would love to do it from a drumming perspective of like, because that's what got me. Because my concern was the accuracy of hitting the things. It looked pretty good from what I saw.
At all. So there you go. And lastly, Apollo 11 is still on sale, $7.20 down from $12. We talked about that last week. That was the only sale last week. Apollo 11, if you dig educational experiences and you're not put off by the idea of no gameplay or very little gameplay.
You can actually do it with no gameplay.
Worth a look.
There's the option to
no
gameplay.
I tried it with gameplay. I didn't like it because I wasn't good.
I liked walking on the moon.
Yeah.
I like that part.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And this is like I said lastly, there's another lastly because that's lastly for what's in the PSN store. But right now, and as of time of you watching the show, if you are one of the few folks with a PSVR that still haven't managed to find a Farpoint and aim controller bundle, Amazon is now doing that at a discount. So it used to be $80. Currently, you can pick one up for $60, which is basically like any full price AAA. But you get the aim controller with it, and don't forget the aim controller can be used with other things.
The aim controller by itself is $60. You can buy the aim controller from Amazon right now for $6. Because I was looking because Bravo Team's coming out soon, and then Firewall is the one I'm super excited about because I will probably play the shit out of that game. And I was like, fuck, I need to get an aim controller for my house. And I looked at the price of it. I was like, I didn't realize it was $6.
Yeah. Peripheral. So, I mean, getting this is plus with Farpoint is a pretty good deal. Because Farpoint, as you know, is one of the best games out there.
Worst case scenario, you buy this $60, you get the hard copy of Farpoint, you sell it for what, 30?
Yeah.
You're plus 30 on the controller.
True facts.
If you already own Farpoint.
But, of course, you can use the aim controller with Arizona Sunshine, Doom,
Dick Wild,
a couple other things. And, of course, it will be highly implemented in future games coming down the line as
Bravo
they start
Team,
to figure out FPSs
and,
in the VR world.
Firewall. Those are the two that, like, to me, I mean, Farpoint is a good one, but those two to me are, like, the next, even Bravo Team because the teleportation I'm not as happy about, but Firewall, like that game.
I'm excited for Firewall big time. I also really, really, really can't wait for Alvo. That's still like my number one.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
That's because I'm about to start getting Rainbow Six Siege and fucking Firewall's Rainbow Six Siege in VR.
I've never played Rainbow Six Siege, but I was watching footage of it the other day.
You would love it. I
thought I would like it.
You would love it. I have it. So if you ever get it, we will play. Our buddy Dan, who you know from work, Dan from work, Villa.
Yeah, Wu-Tang Dan.
Yeah. He has it, and he's going to teach me how to play because I'm not played yet.
Yeah.
So it's one of those games you got to put time into to learn your operator and all that kind of stuff. But I'm excited.
You have Xbox, PS4.
PS4.
Cool. All right. Sorry, sidetrack. Back to VR. So pick up the aim controller with Farpoint for $60 from Amazon if you want it. And that's your sales for the week. So new release, Inpatient sales, some good ones in there, some big titles, and what I would consider to be AA games, I think, in there. And everything in there is pretty sharp. I don't think there's anything in that list that I would say don't bother.
I would consider Star Trek a AAA game.
You think so?
I would consider it a AAA game. It's a AAA experience. It's short, but the replayability is always there, especially if you play with friends. I could see if you play by yourself how you could potentially get tired of doing it. But again, that's another one, hop in with randoms. We had one guy, he was from Ohio, and he became the captain. And it was funny because like he set the tone of how we were going to play. And he, again, immersion-wise, he was like, I was the weapons engineer. I can't remember what they're called now. David was the helmsman, and then we had another random dude with us that was the fourth position. And I don't remember. I might have been the power dude.
Losing me.
I can't remember. But anyways, it was one of those things where like he would literally just like he'd go roll, and he would like Roger, like, and it stupid little things that you do without thinking that make you more immersed in the game. But I felt like I was on a bridge, and you look at the captain when he's talking to you, and you're like, okay, got it, sir. Putting coordinates now, going here, setting this, doing that, and you really it's really weird because I don't like Star Trek. I've tried watching Star Trek, but it's a lot of fun. I can't express enough.
That's high praise from Keegan
to buy Star Trek Bridge Crew, especially VR.
Yeah.
Like I'm very, very picky when it comes to VR because I have high expectations, and not everything meets those expectations.
Yeah,
I'm a fun factor. If the fun factor sounds good.
Let's move on to the news for the week, which is the biggest part of the show and most people's favorite. So big news out of Multiverse Entertainment. You may know those guys as the guys that make the game Seeking Dawn. Seeking Dawn is one of those titles that's kind of been on the lips of everyone in the VR world for a long time. And finally, they're heading towards closed beta for the Vive and the Rift, and PSVR optimization is on the way. So here's the official announcement from Multiverse Entertainment. We know it's been confirmed for PSVR, so this is like not a confirmation. It's already coming, but this is just kind of how it's going right now. Multiverse Entertainment says, we'd like to officially announce that the largest, most ambitious VR game in development will be entering closed beta in February. Signups will begin January 30th, and the announcement you have all been waiting for. Coming soon to PlayStation VR, Steam, Oculus Store, and Windows MR, which is interesting.
Mixed reality.
I haven't seen that for a while. So you can RSVP for a reminder from their Facebook page, but it starts on January 30th for the Rift and Vive owners.
Yeah.
Not for...
That happened to me the other day. I went to sign up for the Sprint Vector beta, and I was like, balls.
Those bastards always get it first. Yeah. But either way, Seeking Dawn
My goal is to get a gaming
is one
PC.
of those that I've been following like from the beginning. We've been following it on the show from the beginning, and it just looks really exciting to me.
Every time I hear the phrase Seeking Dawn, I think of Halo, because I think of Going Until Dawn or something like that. Whatever, there's a mission like right at the beginning that they say you're moving until dawn or something like. I can't remember, but that's all. Whenever I hear Seeking Dawn, that's all I can think of is that Halo mission.
But I mean, for those of you that enjoy things like Farpoint, Seeking Dawn is like that, but add in things like crafting, like Solace Project style, and a bunch of other stuff, and it looks really exciting. So really looking forward to Seeking Dawn making its way onto the PSVR. Looks like we might be getting it behind the guys at Rift and Vive, but you know what? We can wait. We're
Doesn't
patient.
matter. Yeah,
we can share.
You know what really excites me, and again, I very much, as you said earlier, very picky when it comes to VR games, and very much like give me good quality or don't make it, which is bad to say because like I'm not going to buy it if it's not good quality. But if you look at the games that we were getting this time last year versus the games we're getting this time this year, even Inpatient like is quote unquote bad, and I used air quotes on that as it is, or is being received right now. It's way better than some of the games we got at launch initially. True. And you have to keep that in mind as now, obviously, I feel like I've always had high expectations, but you now can see what can happen in VR with Skyrim, with Farpoint, with Star Trek, with these
I think the
Rec Room.
The baseline has been lifted.
Yes,
so
which is good.
Like you know, they say, what is it? A sinking tide raises all ships, or whatever it is. I don't know. Rising tide raises all ships. Just get there eventually. My nautical terms are on point. But yeah, so I think that you're absolutely right. I think we're at a point now where all the games that are coming out have at least a little bit of extra polish.
There's
on
still
them,
those ports that just like,
they still
but
well.
You can still find a gem in there, and I that makes me excited because I am probably more excited this year for things that are coming from VR than I was last year, because last year the big one was Resident Evil, and
last
Farpoint.
year was the first year. So I mean, that was you know, the fact that year 2 is better over year 1 is A, good. Kind of expected, but B, it's a good sign that VR is not just going to taper out.
Yes, that was my concern, because to me last year was like the year of like the first 6 months are the people getting in early adopters. This holiday season are the people, I think, I don't want to say mainstream, but the more casual VR people that will still play VR games, but they're not like us that are entrenched into it, are getting into it. And Seeking Dawn, Bravo Team, Impatient, Moss. I mean, the quality that the games are coming out. There's, like I said, there's still the other ones that are coming out, but
I'm supposedly 180 to go.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what this year has for it, and yeah, I'm happy about VR right now, and it's hard to say.
Nice.
It's hard to say.
Nice to hear it. So this should make you happy as well.
Yes.
Skydance, the team behind the wonderful Archangel. If you've never played that, it is a really high caliber mech shooter for PSVR. It's expensive at launch, so a lot of people gave it a pass. But honestly, it's worth the money.
There's a dude in the Facebook VR group I'm in that's like, "Why has nobody talked about this game? It's so much fun."
It's incredible.
And I know you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to point out to everybody here that your note, and I think you put it in the description too, it says Archangel going off rails for multiplayer add-on or edition. I thought of it as like they're going fucking like making a hard left turn.
They're going nuts.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Now there's like
It's like
bouncing balloons.
Yeah, like what is happening here? But they're literally going off the rails.
Going off rails. So here's the news: is that Archangel developers have said that they the main game is kind of a rail-based shooter. You are in a mech, you're walking, but you don't really control the walking per se. You're mostly concerned with your shield and your punching and your guns and things like that. That's your job. So what they're doing is they're going to implement a way that you can control the mech and those things, which that'll be interesting to see how they pull that one off. But they're going to make it multiplayer. So a multiplayer gigantic mech off-rail shooter game in the world of Archangel, which is a fantastically built world. Really exciting news. Here's the scoop. VR mech shooter Archangel was one of the more polished games to release for headsets last year, but its oversimplistic gameplay held it back from greatness. It sounds like an upcoming update to that game will address that somewhat, though. Archangel is getting a multiplayer mode. Chris Hewish, Executive Vice President of VR at developer Skydance Interactive, confirmed as much to VentureBeat in a recent interview. Players will be able to take their giant Pacific Rim-style battlesuits into combat against other human players for the first time. Interestingly, though, competitive play will also introduce off-rails gameplay, whereas the original campaign is all on rails. So I won't read the rest of that. It's in the comments if you want to read the whole thing there. But yeah, that's really exciting to me because, like I said, Archangel was one of my surprise hits of last year. I think it did not get talked about enough. I think the immersive level of it, the story of it,
again,
all that stuff
like
was
that
grand.
said, the simplistic of the on rails kind of probably turned a lot of people off.
Well, yeah, that was the only thing about it was that you were like, but even that part was fun. You know what I mean? Like even the fact that you were only really controlling.
But if you didn't play it, you wouldn't know. You're just like, oh, it's an on rail shooter.
Correct.
And we know, like, I complain that we have a bunch of space games or we have a bunch of horde games or whatever. Like that's, to me, that's the mindset a lot of people probably had, is like, oh, it's an on rail shooter, probably don't want to play it.
Right.
Same thing with you with Doom and teleportation initially. Like it's teleportation. I'm gonna wait and see on it, type thing.
Doom turned out okay.
Yeah, controls were a bit wonky from what I hear.
So Skydance is also, in the same interview with VentureBeat, came out and said that they're working on a Walking Dead VR game and an as-yet unannounced VR game as well. So those are some things to look forward to, too. Walking Dead VR, I'm, like, tentative about because I feel like there's already enough kind of zombie games in the VR world. Walking Dead, obviously, the granddaddy of franchises, I suppose, to get your hands on if you're going to make a zombie game. But I also think that sometimes having to adhere to an IP can make things worse rather than better. So the question is, do they adhere to the TV show or do they adhere to the comic book like Telltale did, in terms of art style and gameplay?
And what's this game going to be? Because if it's just a zombie shoot 'em up like Brookhaven, like,
guess what? We already have Arizona Sunshine.
That's the, like, obviously the IP will bring people in, but yeah, that's, yeah. I wish Windlands was the Spider-Man we didn't get.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been awesome.
Windlands guys need to get a hold of Spider-Man franchise.
Sure, that's not cheap.
So you may remember last week I uploaded a video to the channel called Hong Kong Games, and it was basically a review of 4 of the Hong Kong games that are not currently, at the time of this podcast, available in the US store. And those games were Happy Drummer VR, Audio Beats, Kaiji VR, and Lunar Stone. And Kaiji VR has officially been announced to be coming to the West. So the news comes from PlayStation VR News. Kaiji VR, The Nightmare Bridge, a.k.a. Steel Beam Crossing of Despair.
That sounds exciting and uplifting.
Is tipped for a Western release in the near future. That was a tiny little thing, but here's the thing. Kaiji VR fucking sucks. I'm going to just come out and say it, right? So,
which is weird, because normally I'm the one saying that.
There's so much about this game that could have been awesome. Now, I've never seen the anime, so I don't know.
You're not attached to it at all.
I'm not attached to it, but here's the thing. Like, even in Japan, apparently, they were not a fan of this game. The idea is that basically you are a rando dude that gets like plucked from obscurity and with a bunch of other rando dudes, and you have to cross a steel beam above a very large drop. If you fall off, you die, hence Nightmare Bridge of Despair or whatever. Bunch of Japanese business dudes are essentially betting on you to win. It's like a race, right? There's several beams, several people, but you can have multiple people on the same beam, so that of course forces you to push people off the beam if you're behind them.
Is it multiplayer or is it single?
It's single player.
Okay.
But here's
So
the thing
AI
about the
on the
game is that there is no rhyme or reason to why you fall off the beam. That's the only problem I have with it.
That's the fundamental part of the game.
Right. So you have two ways to control your bouncing on the beam. Through the 6-axis, so through the actual bouncing of the controller, but also through the right stick. I don't know which does what. So I'm just like trying to keep steady and kind of like using the right stick, and I'm looking down and I'm just like, and then I'll think like everything's perfect, and you get an indication that you're going to fall off because your heart starts going faster, the screen starts going red, but no matter which direction you go to, you don't feel like you can control what's happening at all. And then as you get closer to the guy in front of you, the bridge gets narrower, and I would just fall off. And I never found out why I was falling off. And I played that game a lot. I was like, I'm gonna make it to this side of this fucking bridge for this review if it kills me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it to the side of the bridge. So yeah, Kaiji VR, exciting that we are getting a nice niche only Hong Kong / Japan title. Not exciting that the game sucks, but
Yeah.
it's coming. So
the cross-pollination I like, though, because there are, and again, our biggest videos on this channel, outside of fucking the Bard's Tale 45-minute gameplay, which surprised the hell out of me, are the creating foreign accounts. Yeah. Every game, and we've mentioned it many times, is region-free. You just have to make an account for that. But the fact that this is coming stateside for us makes it easier for people to buy if it was good. Or, example, if we get something like Happy Drummer VR stateside, you don't have to make a Hong Kong account, go to PlayAsia, buy that game, and then have it on that account.
It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get
once
Hong
you're
Kong
done.
games,
Once you're done, it's done.
Yeah, but once they're on your console, it's not like you have to go to the Hong Kong account to play them. You can play them from your main account. You can put them in your main folders. Like, they just become a part of your collection. The only difficult part, I would imagine, if you had to ever re-download them, then you'd have to re-download them from the Hong Kong account that you made, as opposed to the
one you play
American one or whatever one you play off of. So there is a brief clip, and it's very brief, so it will be behind me, of
13 seconds, I believe.
Honor and Duty PSVR update.
I still hate that name.
It's a terrible name.
It reminds me of, like, I guess Call of Duty is, if you think about it, is a very terrible game.
It's a super generic title for what previously looked like a pretty generic game.
But I'm more excited after seeing this 13-second clip.
Yeah, so this clip, and I'm probably just going to loop it behind me, honestly, because you kind of want to watch it a few times. Shows what they're trying to do with the VR mode for Honor and Duty. Honor and Duty is already out. It is a pretty, like, non-special...
It reminds me of PUBG.
Game, right?
Like, PUBG doesn't do anything special. It just does what it does interestingly.
Yeah.
And well.
But this looks like a solid attempt at trying to create a fully motion-based FPS multiplayer shooter.
Which can't be easy.
But also it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad at all. Like, when you watch the clip, the movement looks solid. The gunplay looks solid. It definitely looks like super generic, like I said. But in terms of like a first step in that direction and trying to get the feel of it down, I think as long as the gunplay is fun. I mean, we've played like Rec Room paintball and stuff like that, and that's all teleportation, but that's still really fun because there's nothing more fun than shooting people in VR, especially in multiplayer. So I think that if they pull it off, it should be interesting. I think they've been updating it for a long time now.
This could be the GoldenEye of PSVR. And it's funny because I mentioned, go watch the clip with the audio turned on. It sounds like GoldenEye guns,
which made me like
which was good for, like, that made me happy though, because it reminds me of that.
Nostalgia.
And yeah, but like yes, I agree that a first-person full motion VR experience. I am now more intrigued for this game than I was before. Again, I was turned off by generic name. There's nothing really, it's not doing anything. But after seeing that, the aim looks steady. I don't know what control scheme. We have no idea what control scheme they were using.
If it's DS4 or move or aim or what.
It looked steady.
Although I think I remember them saying it was going to be aim at some point.
Well, it's probably going to support all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't, that specific recording, I don't know what their input method is. Whether it's also, it could be a PC versus a PSVR that they're using at the same time as well to record it. So, but yeah, it's more exciting than before. But I still want to see more than a 13-second clip. It's going to come down to map design. Because if they do, all you need to do is multiplayer maps. Build a, like, I don't want to say Halo style because that's not the right word, but build just arenas that you can run around in and shoot people. Like you said, in paintball for Rec Room, is there like 4 maps, I think?
I've only ever played the.
Is there the one? No, there's multiple maps.
Well, there's multiple maps where you can shoot people, but for paintball, I think it's
no.
Just
We
the
did
one,
we did the other one with the facility.
That was not paintball, was it? Oh, it might have
No,
been.
it was. There's like 4 maps. So if you have diverse maps that are well designed, easy to go through with full motion, like I'm all for it. Obviously, the motion sickness thing you had to take into account, but yeah, I'm more excited about this game than I was before I saw this clip.
Yeah,
because it looked good.
So the Alien franchise, as you know, I'm a huge Alien fan.
There's literally an alien to the left of the camera.
There is an alien to the left of the camera.
I guess that would be right.
So the Alien franchise has changed hands, which is good and bad. It's bad because the last company to have a handle on the Alien franchise treated it with the respect that it deserved and made an incredible game in Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation had a VR mod port thing on PC Vive and Rift for those players, which is allegedly one of the scariest possible games you can play in VR. And, you know, the fucking Flat game is one of the scariest games you can play ever, so I totally... I've been desperate for a VR port of this game.
You don't say.
I'm never going to get it. So it changed hands to a company called Fox Next, which is affiliated with 20th Century Fox. It's a new publishing house from 20th Century Fox. And so here's some information that got me a little bit excited. According to an email from a PR representative that includes the press release, the Fox Next Games division is led by industry veterans that specialize in new entertainment experiences across mobile, console, PC, and VR. The About Fox Next section of the press release even specifically mentions Fox Next VR Studio overseeing Alien and Planet of the Apes cinematic VR content.
Planet of the Apes wasn't very good, though.
Well, they did. Well, here's the thing. But this is not the Planet of the Apes game that we were talking about here. So we don't know very much about the game at all, but we think it's a safe bet that it will have VR support of some kind. So
I want to know who the industry veterans are. That's the question I have. Is like,
that's interesting, but also I want to know that it's not just a movie tie-in.
Yeah.
Because if it's
it's not Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, I don't want that at all.
That was garbage.
But if they can, I mean, this is a franchise that was fucking built for VR. Okay, being in that world, that universe, being in H.R. Geiger's vision, would be absolutely jaw-droppingly terrifying and stunning at the same time. But, I mean, what better horror genre game can you get than being stuck on this planet or this spaceship or whatever, fighting a xenomorph with, like, full aim utilization with a pulse rifle? Oh, my God, are you kidding me? So Fox Next has me excited that potentially we are going to get a full or at least partial VR support game for the Alien franchise, which is long overdue. So we might not ever see Alien Isolation.
Well, that might be too scary. That's the other thing too.
Dude, there's no such thing. We might not ever get that on PSVR, but we might get something.
What was that one game that your horror game that you picked during the podcast that one time? There's like that scared the shit out of me. I stopped playing it.
Fatal Frame.
Yeah. Put that in VR. Do you think it's too scary?
Maybe. I'm older now. I feel like I could handle it better now. But Fatal Frame was fuck that. Anyway, so some more news from Sony Pictures and Survios. You may know Survios from the guys they are the guys that did Raw Data and also they're working on Sprint Vector, which is that cool like
that one has me excited
thing. So they are working on Jumanji, the VR adventure. Jumanji, whatever. Tomato. So Jumanji. Okay. I'm torn on this. I'll tell you why. The original Jumanji is like a classic, right?
With Robin Williams?
Right.
Yeah.
The new one...
The fucking Hunters terrified me in that movie when I was a kid growing up.
Well, the new one, they changed the board game to a video game, right? And
have you seen the new one?
I've seen the trailer. That's it.
I haven't seen the new one.
So basically, instead of the board game, like, unleashing all kinds of hell on humanity, they get sucked into a video game.
It's because the kids these days, Tom, don't play board games. They play video games.
Yeah. Instead of like they're all vaping and eating Tide Pods.
Should have been a fucking iPad. Just warp into the iPad.
So it's based on a video game world. It has Kevin Hart, Jack Black, The Rock. I mean, it looks like it'll be fine. It'll be a fun family thing, I'm sure. But they are doing a VR tie-in, which is. It's not a Spider-Man Homecoming. It's a proper tie-in.
Yeah.
It's still an experience, so it's still going to be kind of shitty. But it's interesting looking. It looks jank, but at the same time, like I would play it. Like if it's free, especially. I'm not paying for it.
The walking mechanics were like, woof, they were stiff.
So you have basically you are a godlike entity, much like Tethered, and you have the characters from the movie. So you can get to play with a little Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Jack Black and Kevin Hart and stuff. I know, but you are essentially
you get to play with your little Johnson.
Yeah, play with a little Johnson. You get a Rock Johnson too.
Hey,
you get to control their pathway. So, like, if the Rock is on this side of a
ravine,
yeah, and there's another side, you can pick up a tree and put it down, and then he can cross over the log and get to the other side. There's fighting involved, but you are basically like in kind of like God mode, controlling them around this 3D map. It does look jank. Don't get me wrong. You can see from the footage if you're watching how jank it looks. But also, if you're listening at home on audio, please go ahead and click the link in the description and then watch that video, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But whenever I see this fucking, this experience stuff, like this movie tie-in experience, I instantly think it's going to be shit. Yep. To me, this at least looks shit and interesting at the same time. Like, it looked like it's probably going to be piss poor, but I would play it. Like,
the fact that Servios is behind it gives it a little bit more.
Pretty damn good company to get behind. So,
but I don't know how big they are, and they're currently working on Sprint Vector. They obviously have raw data out, so I don't know if there's anything else they got to do with that when it comes to it. But I wonder where they're at in this experience and how big they are and that kind of thing, and who's working on this versus Sprint Vector, because obviously Sprint Vector's their baby, and that's the one they've.
I don't think it's going to be anything spectacular by any means, but I do think it'll be better than your average experience, judging from what I've seen.
I mean, Spider-Man's horrible.
If they
you can't get worse than that. If
they have like humor in there, if they have like Kevin Hart telling jokes or whatever it might be, then that'll help it as well. But I don't who knows?
If they say, "Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?"
I don't think they would.
Those of you who don't know what that is because you're too young, the Rock used to be a wrestler in WWE. When it was there are people that my brother didn't know the Rock was a wrestler.
God damn.
Yeah. You're old, Tom. Remember that?
Yeah.
I didn't know for the longest time Will Smith was an actor before he.
He's a rapper.
Or a rapper before he became an actor. Getting jiggy with it, I knew that, but I never put two and two together back in the day. So yeah, that's a thing.
Wow. Sorry, I forget the youth.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like if they have it in there, sold on it.
But that's going to be only available at VR arcades around the country and PSVR. So it is exclusive to PSVR because it's a Sony picture. So that's nice.
Makes sense.
So
use what you have and get an advantage on it.
Rec Room. One of our favorite VR games. Sean Grab is a Dawn Daddy. And
I've actually not looked at his website. I got the email about it and I never actually looked it up.
It's Rec Room is always a good time. So Rec Room has a nice update in the form of a new website, and that website you can get to from rec.net. Now, Rec Room for recreation is REC. So rec.net. I can't promise you're going to go to a legitimate website if you try any other spelling. But here's some news about rec.net. So it's a fancy new website, and if you're a registered user, you can now manage your profile and share your Rec Room pics on rec.net. So all those little selfies that you've been taking in Rec Room should show up in there for you to peruse. So they also did a bunch of updates to the share camera. So the share camera, you can now sync photos you take in Rec Room to your rec.net profile with the tap of a button. They've added a tripod button so the camera will stay put where you drop it, even in midair. This makes it easier to frame the exact shot that you want in tripod mode.
Oh, look, my selfies are my pictures are already on.
They're already there?
Yeah.
Do they have the one where I'm invisible? Because I remember we took that one.
Maybe?
I think it's the next
No,
picture.
it's a selfie I took. Oh, I don't want to delete it. Yeah, this one. You're right here.
The tripod mode, tap or laser point the camera screen to take a picture. Printed photos are now correctly saved and restored in custom rooms.
Oh, you'd accept friends on here too.
Speaking of custom rooms, this update brings some new features. Shared ownership of custom rooms. You can share your custom room with as many roommates as you want. Co-owners can visit a private custom room even when you're not there. They can also freely save and restore the room, so only grant co-ownership to players you trust. To make someone a co-owner, go to the room, then find the player in the people screen of the watch and tap the roles button. Custom rooms.
How do I say that?
Watch custom rooms, browse, now does a better job of sorting rooms. Rooms with more cheers and visitors will be sorted higher, so it's easier
Which
to
is smart,
find
because that's the way it
stuff.
should be.
You can now set to public, private, or unlisted as well. Unlisted rooms are only accessible via sandbox doors. And please note, they've temporarily disabled the ability to publish would have been better. Publish non-sandbox custom rooms. It's a very temporary change, they think, until they rethink how they want to deal with that scenario. Plus, there's an update to the Maker Pen. The Maker Pen now supports grid snapping in edit mode when creating, moving, and rotating shapes. And you can set the grid to 1 centimeter, 10 centimeter, or 100 centimeter. Sorry, Americans. Added pyramid shape, kind of like a cone, in parentheses. Come on, man. And now the miscellaneous category. Whiteboards are now considerably higher resolution and won't accrue visual artifacts as you save/reload a room over time. Crimson Cauldron fixed some misbehavior in mini-witches. They're also including a small gift for players who registered their Rec Room account before the end of 2017. Thank you for being a part of the Rec Room community. They love you. So that's awesome.
Can I talk about how we bitch about a lot of developers nowadays kind of not doing what they tell us they're going to do and or expecting more out of them? Rec Room is one of those games where I expected nothing out of this game, loved the base game, and now they're adding all this stuff because to me Rec Room is going to be built on its community. Like this has the potential, and this is a very bold statement when I say it, but this has the potential to be the PSVR's Minecraft.
You think so?
I do. Because the community has already shown, like, look at the rooms that have been built. Like, that's how Minecraft started, was this small little thing that just word of mouth kept getting bigger. And the fact that it's free, I can't tell you how many people that are in the communities that I'm part of for VR that talk about this game. And as you know, it's my favorite VR game that exists right now. And it's so cool. I need to hop in to see the future. I'm not done these yet, but I want to.
Well, we're going on Sunday.
Yeah, potentially check out Hoth on Sunday because I really want to see what that looks like with Yoda. But like this is a game that is free. Mm-hmm. The developer, don't know how they're making their money. Would love to know how that works, or if it's just a passion project. Because for a passion project, they put a lot of work into this thing.
I'm assuming someone is paying them money to put it on the platform.
Yeah, I hope so. But this game it's free. It's at base level, a bunch of mini games that each mini game, for the most part, is a lot of fun.
They're really good mini games.
There's a few glitches here and there, like you getting stuck in a staircase, but it is still technically early access.
Yeah, that was really early.
Yeah.
They've updated it.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like there's glitches like that, but that's going to happen in any game. And now they're adding this for the community side of things because I'm sure it's been asked for. I'm waiting for them to do an app. Like now I have this thing of like, if they build this community the right way, this again could be the Minecraft of PSVR or of VR in general, because I assume it's on Vive.
I
and
see it
Oculus
more in
as well.
line with something like VR chat, just with additional games than Minecraft. But I hope so.
If they add more and more creator tools like this, though,
yeah,
like the snapping is a huge deal for people. Like there is the ability to make whatever you want in that world, and I'm not creative enough to do it, but there are people out there that will fucking run with it and make amazing things. And yeah, this game is. It's relying on its community to be successful because you need people in the game to play some of the games, or all the games. But this is really, it's a smart step it's a no-brainer that I didn't really think about. That makes sense because I just logged in the website to see what was on the back end there, and it's literally logged in. My pictures came up. You click profile, you can see stuff there. At the bottom, you have your friends list, and then I don't have any custom rooms, like I said, but there's a rooms button that said 0 for me. But I assume you could just go through there and organize them and look at them and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. I cannot praise these guys enough for what they're doing.
Sean and the
this
Antigrav team do really great
work. This is done right. I don't know if he listens to our podcast, but Sean, you are a champ when it comes to VR. I will scream your praises to the end of the day with this. And as Tom said earlier, I'm very picky when it comes to VR games, but when you do shit right, I will make sure people know you do shit right.
There you go.
So
rec.net is the website. Go and check it out. If you're already in Rec Room, you might be surprised to see what shows up, like Keegan was. So this next one is more of a personal thing for me. I spend a lot of time in r/PSVR. I don't know if they like me spending a lot of time there, but I do it anyway. And I often browse through and kind of just see what people are talking about, and that's kind of how we learned about a lot of the Inpatient stuff this morning. Was I spent the morning going through reviews for that.
I do for Facebook. I'm in a Facebook group.
And there's a lot of people that are like bang on it with the news. They kind of collaborate.
And listen.
It's not collaborate. What happens when you pull things together? Like
collate?
No, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, so there's a user Calamity Jameson, who posted up his homemade VR game, which has gone live on Oculus and Steam, and the Windows Store launched their versions. All these came out a couple weeks ago. The guy made this entirely from scratch VR game, which is it's basically like super 80s centric space shooter. So I love the 80s aesthetic. I'm a huge fan of the Outrun style, as they call it, which is, like neon pinks and purples and that kind of stuff.
Because you're a kid of the 80s. It does nothing for me.
I am. But you're essentially, you have these like laser gun things. You're shooting atoms. You're like, there's boss fights. It almost looks a little bit like a first person Rez or something like that, but maybe less hectic.
It reminded me of, what was the old arcade game where you're the spaceship shooting the rocks?
Space Invaders?
Yeah, it reminded me of that. Obviously a little bit more advanced than that, but that's the feeling I got with it in VR.
That maybe with some Galaga.
Yeah, like it's very simplistic in its appearance.
Yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't mean it's not a fun gameplay loop.
So the game is called Neon. And I spoke to Calamity Jameson and I asked him if he would mind if we put it on the podcast because the aesthetic is, I'm all about it. I love that. I love the nostalgia factor of it. I love the way he put together the trailer. You can see the footage. And I think the game looks really interesting. The one part about it, though, that he was kind of complaining about, and I think this is a complaint that I hope that not a lot of indie devs have, was that all the other people got him a dev kit pretty quickly. That's why it's already released on those stores. He's still waiting on the dev kit for PSVR. I assume there's a gigantic back order of it. I don't know if they're just like, I guess if you're like an independent guy putting games together, you're probably lower on the list than a company like Against Gravity or Anti-Gravity. No, it is Against. Or Supermassive or whatever company. So Calamity is basically like begging Sony to hurry up and send him a dev kit so that he can test his game and then release this game on PSVR for all of you lovely folks. So I can't do much in this world, but one thing I can do is talk about the game Neon on our VR podcast that we host. And if anyone from PlayStation is watching, get this man a dev kit. He needs to get this game released. It looks cool, and I think a lot of people will be into it. So that's what I said I would do, and that's what I did. So there you go. So get Calamity Jameson a dev kit. Hashtag get Calamity Jameson a dev kit.
You need to come up with catch your hashtags.
I do need to work on my hashtags. So anyway, that's that. I just wanted to drop that in there.
Hashtag team move.
Because I really like the look of it. I think it's cool. So there is an upcoming puzzle shooter, you heard that right, called Cold Iron, coming out on the 30th, I believe, right? It was January 30th is the release date for it. And there's an interview of it with the developers, James and Matthew, who are the sole employees of the company Catch and Release. But yeah, it's a virtual reality puzzle shooter called Cold Iron. Now, we've watched a little bit of footage for this, and they don't give away a lot, do they? You're essentially just watching a horse walk across different environments.
Looks like you're leading a horse and you get shot in the head. And it was weird because when I first started, I was like, ooh, this is interesting. But then I was hoping they were going to show me something more. Obviously, it's not going to be Red Dead Redemption, but I got a Red Dead revive based on the atmosphere because you're in the West and something's going on. I didn't really know what the game is. That's the part.
So a part of this interview, and I'll share it with you so you can kind of make your own mind up because the footage doesn't help. So in this interview, they were asked the question, you referred to Cold Iron as the world's first virtual reality puzzle shooter. It's quite refreshing to see someone trying something a little different with the genre, especially since there are already plenty of shooters available in virtual reality. I have no idea what a puzzle shooter really is. How exactly does Cold Iron blend shooting and puzzling mechanics together? James says, Dueling is all about high stakes. If a player goes into a duel thinking about the controller in her hand, the illusion is ruined and the stakes are gone. The gun is something every player understands intuitively, so we chose to make shooting the way you interact with the world because it allows you to look past the controller. The gun becomes an extension of you. Matthew adds, the puzzles are what you interact with using the gun. The puzzles are how you overcome each opponent because it's never as simple as depleting a health bar or blasting until there's nothing left standing. There's a duelist who tricks you into shooting a mirror image of himself. There's a duelist who blinds you. The name of the game is quickness, and that means having a quick mind too. So it sounds like you're going to be pitted against various different duels and have to sort of use puzzle elements, I guess, to take down the opponent, which actually is a neat idea.
Shoot that red barrel back there.
Yeah, if you see a red barrel, shoot that fucker.
Yeah, the critique I'd have for them is their trailer showed us nothing.
No,
and it showed us none of that. I'm looking at these screenshots. There's a screenshot, and I don't know if you're gonna put it behind us, but a screenshot of a man holding a gun shooting another man that tells me more about the game than that trailer.
The entirety of the trailer.
Yes.
Yeah, so. With you on that. Yeah, fully agree. So it's, I don't know.
The environments look real cool.
It looks interesting. I'm willing to give it a shot. I think it came out of left field because I had heard nothing about this game whatsoever, and then suddenly it's being released in a week. But I like the idea of it, and I think that I'd like to see more footage. I'm definitely not going to go anywhere near it until I see some gameplay instead of just horses. But it looks neat. So, if puzzle shooters, I guess, are your thing, then check it out. But if you want to read the entirety of the interview and get a better understanding of this game as a whole and the catch and release team, then go ahead and click the description there for off-screen sources, and you'll find it in there, the whole interview with those guys.
I would recommend doing that versus watching the trailer.
Correct. And to top it off this week for news, I just thought this was kind of cool. This is my kind of hype news for the week, and that is that...
is this your convince Keegan that VR is here to stay?
Convince Keegan. This year is going to be the first of a huge global VR/AR summit, and it's going to be held in Vancouver. And it's hosted by the VR/AR Association, which is VRARA, which is my favorite abbreviation ever. The summit
otherwise known as Viara.
Virara. The summit is scheduled to land in the city this September at the New Park, Vancouver. According to organizers, the event will bring together world leaders in the space of VR, AR, MR, and XR to discuss immersive technologies.
What's XR?
No idea. It will feature keynotes, industry tracks, workshops, creative hubs, demos, exhibits, breakouts, and amazing VIP events. The VR/AR Global Summit continues the mission of the VR/AR Association of facilitating growth, knowledge, and connections across the globe and across industry verticals for VR, AR, and mixed reality, says Nathan Pettyjohn, founder and president of the VR/AR Association. The growing VRARA member base and thousands of registered companies have been asking for this type of interactive and innovative conference. The event itself is designed to bring together both industry-leading solution providers as well as the brands and companies looking to deploy these types of technologies, says the VRARA's global director, Chris Colo. Anne-Marie Enns, the executive producer of the event, said she is very excited about the upcoming summit. This will be the largest and best show of its kind in Canada. That's September 21st and 22nd at Park Vancouver, and you can get tickets now. So I just thought that was cool because, that's kind of coming to show that VR is definitely stepping out and becoming kind of its own thing. AR too. It's weird that they're bundling them together, but I do like that just means you're going to open the door to more people, essentially. But I've started to notice VR showing up in more and more regular media. Like it's showing up in TV shows.
We talked about before this. Kind of Funny's got a VR show. VR Without Parole.
Without Parole have a PSVR this week they're doing. Kind of Funny just started doing their PSVR podcast, or they're going to. Greg Miller was in the r/PSVR group the other day talking about it. But yeah, so I mean, as people that have been following VR for a really, really long time, it's great to see.
I miss my boy Greg Game Over Greggy in the r/PSVR.
Dang. It's great to see this type of event occurring. And like I said, there's some people have been posting some really funny things about sightings, I guess. Everyone gets excited when they see a PSVR headset in a TV show. Like when they saw the headset in Black Mirror, people were freaking out. There was one that was on a comedy show recently, and they just like cut the wire off it and pretended it was like a standalone headset, and everyone was like, wow, they're wireless now, which is just stupid TV stuff. But at the same time, exciting. It's exciting to see it in more and more places. I was talking about on the podcast, I think yesterday, Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. The first episode is all about VR, and it's sort of becoming more and more a part of the cognizant society, to the point where everyone kind of knows what it is now. They may not understand it, they may not have ever used it, but they know kind of what it does. And it's no longer like a joke or an outlier or just a fringe piece of technology. It's definitely becoming something that is futuristic, is exciting, and has a big business behind it.
We're getting I mentioned this before, but we're getting a board game sent to us that has VR elements. Like, yeah, that's something I never thought would happen when it comes to like a board game with VR, huh? But it's becoming more and more. I don't think it's mainstream yet, or near mainstream, because of price point. But at some point, we will have a VR headset that will be put it on your head and that's it. Like the Vive, what is it? The Vive Go or whatever it is. Oculus Go. Oculus Go. Because the Vive Pro. That means we're that much closer to this becoming ubiquitous. So,
wow, nice word.
Oh,
ubiquitous.
It's like a word.
We're giving you props.
Hey, you missed yesterday. Another thing. So at work yesterday. Sidetrack here. Speaking of big words, there's a word for something that is not quite solid, not quite liquid, like the states of matter. And for the life of me, I knew it's ended up being a phrase, but I knew that what it was, but I couldn't think of the name of it. Non-Newtonian fluid. So if you want to learn something, look up non-Newtonian fluid. Basically,
you just learned something.
Yes, basically things like quicksand, where it's not quite solid, not quite liquid. It's like in between. Apparently, ice cream though is not part of that. I thought it was. I was wrong there. Butter is part of that categorization as well. So yeah, I had like a good 7 people trying to figure out what the hell that was, because I'm like, I know what I'm trying to think of, but I know, as soon as I hear it, I know I'm gonna know it, but I couldn't. It took a 16-year-old little Wheezy who's taking AP chemistry right now to let us know.
Little Wheezy.
So
what a legend. All right, so that's your news roundup for the week. Hope you're excited about some of that stuff. I know that I am. And we're moving on to the spotlight of the week. Now, last week we did Happy Drummer VR. Happy Drummer VR is a currently Hong Kong-only title. It is coming to the West. They've confirmed that. As of when, I don't know. It was supposed to be January, and it's not here yet, so I don't know. But Happy Drummer is a rhythm game, which, you
play drums.
Yeah, but like rhythm games strike me as something that should be an obvious choice for VR, and this will lead into our question nicely after. But rhythm games seem like a really good choice for VR, because already, when you play like Guitar Hero or whatever, the idea of using a real guitar, or like a real guitar, I did air quotes for the audio listeners, is that you feel more a part of the thing. Even with the newer Guitar Hero and stuff, where like you actually have the audience.
Or Rocksmith.
Yeah, Rocksmith, where you actually use a real guitar. So
I had
to
stories
me,
about those games.
Rhythm-based games, and I know you're a big fan of them, because it used to be like
a rock band drummer.
Rock band drummer, pro.
Made it. I was one of the top rock band drummers in the world, Tom. I don't know if you know this, but I was a fancy man.
The Phantom Man?
Fancy man.
Fancy man.
I was a fancy man.
He was a fancy man.
I had a fancy kit.
So naturally, I wanted to try these out, because there is not really anything of that ilk in the US store. Happy Drummer was good. Audio Beats was better. And I'm here to tell you why. Because I had this conversation.
It looked bad when I looked at it.
Well, here's the thing, though. The footage of Audio Beats, which you'll see behind us if you're watching, is non-VR. Because for whatever stupid fucking reason, I hate it when VR games do this. When you use the Elgato on the share screen, they show a flat version of the game instead of the immersive version. There's nothing you could do about it. They did it. They do it with League of War as well, VR Arena. Like you have to like switch it to a certain setting.
So if somebody's in the room with you watching it, it's easier for them to.
Correct, right. So it's not so shaky and everything.
Yeah. But for our purposes.
But for our purposes, and just so you know, ignore the footage in terms of what it looks like. This is a full VR immersion game. You are sat at a weird futuristic drum kit. You can look around the place, like notes are coming at you. It is not what it looks like here. You can see by the erratic nature of how I move the drumsticks that they
Tom
are
has no idea what he's doing.
I also cannot drum, but they are like really in front of you and you're really banging things. So, settle down. So the reason why I liked Audio Beats more than Happy Drummer had the same kind of 4 tribal-y sounding songs that were just generic. They weren't songs. They were like melodies almost, right? That you just drum to. So they weren't like actual musicians with with vocal tracks and guitar tracks, and in some cases like adding in elements of electronica. They were just like pretty tame rhythms.
They're tribal.
I
mean,
which is fine because that's the point of the game. I get it.
Yeah, because that's a style of drumming.
But from an enjoyability factor, I prefer going a bit more nutso, right? So Audio Beats scratches that itch. So the thing that I liked about it was that when you get the game, you get an album for free. The album is five tracks that you can play. They have multiple difficulties for each one, and you, by the looks of it, they are also going to add additional albums later, so you can keep buying them, which is what you want to do. Happy Drummer,
how you make your money,
does not have that. It has just like the standard, like these are what you get, dig it or don't. Here's why I liked it more. The songs are way better. They actually, like, you get into the songs because they're like, some of them are like blood pumping. There's like some that have like dubstep in it and stuff. And if you're drumming, dubstep is super fun to drum to. But the way that you control it, instead of having a couple bongos or whatever in front of you, you have 4 elongated like mini platforms that are supposed to be, I suppose, like electronic drums. 2 lower, 2 higher, 2 lower center, 2 higher outer. And that's so it's
weird,
like boom,
that's a weird setup,
boom, right?
Because normally, as a drummer, the way you play is like normal drum set. You have your snare drum usually between your legs, which is down low, and then you have a floor tom, and then you have your 2 toms up here. So that's backwards the way I would think it would be laid out. But so be it. I'm sticking with you.
Stick with me. This is the future. We don't play real drums in the future. We play pretend drums.
We push the play button.
That hover.
We push the play button.
Right. So, so the nice part about the drums in here is that you don't necessarily just have to do a downward motion. It doesn't have to be like, boom. You can do upwards, diagonal, sideways, whatever you want to do. As long as you like pass the stick through this sort of paddle that you're working on. So here's where it gets really interesting. Instead of just having to hit like a certain note or a certain, like I can only use my left hand to hit this one. I can only use my right hand to hit this one. This one requires 2 drumsticks like Happy Drummer does. It gives you a vast variant in the amount of things that you
can
have to do. Yeah. So you have normal notes and you can hit them wherever you want to. Anywhere on the drum kit, doesn't matter. As long as you hit it at the same time the note comes down, you're good. But the nice part is that the note isn't coming down and landing on the drum like it does in Happy Drummer. There is 4 hexagon boxes in front of you representative of the 4 pads that you have.
It's like in Guitar Hero Rock Band where the thing comes down the bar and then you have the
correct,
like the play bar, as I'm going to call it. I don't know what to call it, but where it's like, this is where you're going to strike the note at.
Right. Ooh, so it's not a case of like you have to wait for it to hit your drum, because that can be confusing if you're going nuts. So you actually are like, you can see in front of you when you're supposed to be timing it, which makes it a little bit easier, but also visually just I think is better. But aside from like hitting normal notes and things like that, they have notes that you hold. So you have to hold down in the paddle while the note is coming in.
You can't hold a note on a drum set.
That's why it's special. So these notes can also move between paddles. So you might have a hold note that like goes here and then goes up there and then goes across to the other paddle, then comes down, and you have to follow it for the whole thing, like just by moving your like wand about, I suppose.
Can you switch? Like say it goes from right to left.
As long as you catch it, yeah, you're good. And then they have notes that are like, you can only hit this note upwards. So you have to like flick it up in the air or flick it to the diagonal top right.
I don't know if I like that.
So
because again, as a drummer, my brain is
that's what I mean though. It's
down.
It's less like an actual drum game, but it's more fun because it's less like an actual drum game, in my opinion, because I don't drum. So for me, it's all about like, oh my God, I'm all over the place. I'm moving my wand here. And I'm like, I just had so much more fun because of the chaotic nature of it. And then when you make it like even harder, like difficulty levels, it just goes batshit crazy. I made the comment during the review that at some points you feel like you're playing a bullet hell game and just trying to avoid all these things that are come flying at you. But it's so satisfying when you get the timing right and you're like, oh my God, how the fuck am I doing this? And just
4/4 time.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. But they're different like styles as well. Like the first song is like a normal song, and then the second song is like a dubstep.
It's like a song, and then
you know what I mean? It's like a pop song.
And then the thong song.
Second one's like a dubstep song. You have like a rockier song that's in there somewhere, and like they switch up the styles enough that it's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's to me it was so much more fun to play than Happy Drummer. I'm not shitting on Happy Drummer because it was a good game. It was not a bad game by any means. But Audio Beats to me was just more fun because I love the futuristic nature of it more. I love the layout more. I love the way that you could manipulate with the drum paddles more. I love the notes and the way that you would like have to wave along with the music more. The song choice was better. There was just so much that it did right that I think it definitely toppled Happy Drummer in terms of the two rhythm games that I played. And as I said during the Hong Kong game review thing, of all 4 games that I played, that's the one that I feel less bad about spending money on because I really enjoyed it. And I would play it again. And yeah, it's something that I would pick up and just jam to, and I had a really good time with it. So Audio Beats, I highly recommend it. If you have a Hong Kong account, check it out. It's under 100 Hong Kong dollars, so it's under $10, and it's a pretty good time. It's a pretty damn good time. So yeah, that's Audio Beats.
Cool.
Question time. So the question for this week sprang to me from a conversation that I had with someone in, again, r/PSVR. We were discussing about games that should exist but don't. And this is not a case of like, what game can you imagine with your brain would be good in VR? Mm-hmm. This is the question. I'm going to phrase it like this. What game type can you not believe hasn't already found its way onto PSVR? Like, what game is so fucking obviously perfect for a VR experience and so easy to implement that you're just amazed that it doesn't already exist?
So my gut reaction is Rec Room kind of does this, but like Sims. Like a home social game that is Sims, whether it's single player, multiplayer, doesn't matter. But having a... Because I could picture it, the way I picture it happening, because people are going to be like, well, you can't building and all that kind of stuff. The way I picture it happening is your build mode is third person. So you're looking down your God mode when you're building stuff. And then when you're doing the stuff throughout the day, you become the character you created, and you might be able to switch between characters still too.
Like a roller coaster tycoon game or whatever, where you get to like ride the rides that you made.
Yeah. So you're building third person, you're building looking down on the world, but then you're like, oh, I want to be in this world, and when I'm doing the daily lives, when I'm going to work as a cop and I got to solve this investigation, I'm looking at all that first person experience wise. And then when you're done for the day, it pulls back out and it shows you a menu and you go back and forth that way. Be able to switch between different people in your household, that kind of thing. I would love that because I think that is a perfect thing. It would be a bit weird if you did it with like the Sim English or Sims language, whatever, Simish. Yeah, like I would want it to have like real words or conversations that you can go through, but...
So you don't necessarily want Sims in VR, you just want a Sim-like game in VR.
And Rec Room kind of, like I said, kind of does it already, but not to the extent I want it to. I want like literally a Second Life type thing, where I can build a house, I can do my own thing, I'm in control of whatever that is, and as mundane as it is to cook food or whatever, those little things, but there's also other game hooks that is beyond.
So just life simulator.
Kind of. But doing things that I would not normally do. So one of the things that gets me into The Sims is like I can become an astronaut. I'm not going to become an astronaut in real life, but I can go to the moon. And the thing, I don't have any desire to do it. Too much school, too much work,
Too much hassle.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
totally do it, but too much work. But like they send you on these missions that they don't talk about in The Sims, but imagine you go to work as an astronaut and your goal is when you're up there you're there to fix the station. So maybe you're a mechanic on the satellite that you're going up to, and you've got to. That's where the game element comes in. Of like, you've got to find where it's broken and fix it. Or if you're, like I said, if you're a cop, you've got to go to the houses and investigate what's going on. Yeah. So things like something like that, I think would be a lot of fun for me because I just want that simulation. I also want things that are not spooky. So, but I've always loved sim games. I mean, Roller Coaster Tycoon in VR would be fantastic, like building games. I've also said like City Skylines in VR, where you're building third person, getting in first person to view what you built, and that wouldn't add.
So you just want a god game you can play.
I want a building game that I can then experience firsthand. Is kind of
Roller
where
Coaster
I'm at.
Dreams tried to do that.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
City Skylines though, like because there's first person camera in City Skylines that I have on my PC. So when I'm playing, like I build third person and then I go in first person camera and I go. So that's what you can look and you see the airport in the distance and all. It's so cool. Like and it just adds a little bit more to the game. The gameplay doesn't change, but it just gets you more immersed in what you just did. Yeah, it rewards you.
Appreciate your work more.
Yes.
As a omnipotent god.
Yes.
Nice. My game, and this is the one that sparked the conversation because he said, "Is there this type of game?" And I was like, "No. Hang on a second. Why? There should be." Is very simple. Poker.
There's a chess game.
There is a chess game, which pisses me off that there's not a poker game because chess is harder than poker. So, poker.
I want
games,
Uno in VR.
Yeah, I mean,
any card game,
that type of stuff as well. Card games.
Can we just get a casino game in VR? Can we get a casino game in VR? Just like, did you ever play
the Hustle Kings game? I never played that, though.
Yeah, did you ever play? It's a really shitty Xbox game that was just like casino games, but you built you built it up and you got more money and you got to the higher level tables until you became a whale. But you just literally would play poker, you'd play blackjack, you'd play craps, you'd play roulette. Like you just chose, and then certain games they had weeks that you'd go through, and certain games had bonuses. So if you played your roulette, instead of a 35-1 odds, it would have 100-1 odds if you landed on it as like being part of the club that you're in. So something like that would be a lot of fun. Just walking around the casino and going to the different games.
It seems like it would be relatively easy to implement, right? I mean, that's the thing about why I was thinking about poker specifically is that A, I play poker in real life, and B, like I remember there was like an Xbox. No, you won't. There was an Xbox poker game that I used to hop on and play this Xbox poker game. It was just Hold'em. It wasn't anything special. You had an avatar, which was your weird little Xbox avatar guy. And, Hold'em is always different. Those types of games, they don't require you to create a game. The game exists. They just require you to create the environment that the game is in, right?
Yes.
So for VR, a poker table, think Werewolves Within. You're all sat around a table.
High Rollers Casino, by the way, is the game I was thinking
of.
of.
That's the name of it? Okay.
Yes.
So
that game in VR would be perfect.
Think Werewolves Within, instead of all sat around a campfire, you're all sat around a poker table. Having your two cards dealt to you, being able to physically see the river, the flop, and all that kind of stuff, and having maybe like your move control so you can play with your chips, or you can take a drink, or you can fold up your cards and take a peek at your cards. But also, if they could put some level of emotion into it. Like, I know it's very difficult to track emotion, but like maybe have just like little emotes and stuff that you could do, like raising your eyebrows or whatever at another player, so you could just like fuck with them in terms of like, because it's going to be hard to get tells, but at the same time, I don't think you need them because it still would be because there was never tells in the other poker games that have been released on console. So I think a VR poker game, like especially Hold'em, would be perfect. It'd be super easy to do. You just have to basically get the AI right and the environment right and make it kind of comfortable.
And partner with Daniel Negreanu, or is that his name?
Kid Poker?
Yeah. Or get Mike Sexton to do the commentary.
Look at you.
I used to watch World Poker Tour.
Yeah,
watch the crap out of that thing. What was the Travel Channel? Which was the weirdest place to watch it.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird places poker shows up. I used to watch it.
Obviously, ESPN has World Series of Poker.
Yeah.
Is the big one.
I used to watch that whole thing.
Yeah.
That was like weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's like me with Overwatch League now.
Right.
Like I've not missed a game. I've watched the VODs.
But it's a fun game. You could have built-in tournaments. You could have like, and you know, you could win things to make like your apartment or whatever, and then you could decorate your apartment with trophies or with furniture, or you could have a different wardrobe or whatever it might be. There's built-in monetization for those companies that want to just have you pay for like clothing options and things like that. So it seems like such a fucking obvious choice of game to already exist in VR, but it doesn't. That was the one that we were talking about that I thought would be like, I'm shocked that it doesn't exist already, and I can't wait until it does, because I'm a huge poker fan, and I think that socially, being able to talk, especially to the other players at the table, and kind of, you know, give a little bit of trash talk and stuff would be great. So there you go. That's what I really want to see as a fully realized VR poker game.
I still think a whole casino game would be fun. Just
whole casino. I'm fine with that too.
Right. But if you focus on poker, you could make it really well done. Versus
right. You know what I mean?
Two things.
Like, I don't want them to sacrifice the quality of the poker game just because they want to put blackjack or roulette in there. I'm a blackjack guy. That, but I wonder
if you can count. You probably couldn't count cards in VR. They probably would put an anti-count card counting measure in there.
That, yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. So what do you think, guys? What do you think is a game that you're just like, why doesn't this exist in VR yet? Like, it's so obvious that this should already be here, but it's not here. Do you like Keegan's idea of the God game where you get to also control the lower tier character?
You get experience what you built.
Yeah, experience what you built. Are you a poker player? Is there any other card games like Uno, like you said, or Monopoly, or anything like that you think should already be in VR by now? Or is there something that we're completely forgetting about that you think might be neat? Of course, as per usual, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Please talk to us. We're a small channel. There's a lot of channels that have way more subscribers than we do, that have been doing VR for way less than we have, and we don't give a shit about subscriber count. What we do care about is talking to you about the thing that we love, which is VR. So the more that you comment and we can engage with you and have these conversations, the better time everybody has. That being said, that is our show for this week. That was Codename Morpheus episode.
He's scrolling to see which one it is.
Thank you. And we'll be back tomorrow, of course, with the Level 2 podcast, which is our meta podcast where we talk about ourselves and YouTube and whatever the fuck else we feel like. Although I think tomorrow we have a special where we're going to talk about games that Nintendo wishes that you forgot about, which I'm really excited for. So that being said, thank you so much for watching, and as always,
welcome to the second level. Bye.
Welcome to the second level.